I'm in one of our editing bays. I run a studio now, so yeah, here, I'll show you. See if I can turn this around.
I see it. It's just a little bit
Guys.
Spin it around my chair. Set you back up over there. So you guys get to skip class for this?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Very cool.
He said Merry Christmas.
Yeah, we skipped the day. Merry
Well,
Christmas.
friends, let me put headphones on, see if I can hear you a little better.
Okay.
Alright, can you guys hear me now?
Who's asking
Yes.
Alright, perfect. Alright, got everybody there?
We're good.
We're good.
Oh, man. Yeah, no totally doesn't any better. I'll just do it like this. So did you guys write all these questions yourselves?
Yes. Yeah.
Alrighty, so I guess I'll just start going through them. I can't really hear you guys super well. So when you guys are talking, just try and make sure to do one at a time when you're asking questions and stuff like that. It's a little hard to hear you. So, let's see here. What kind of training did I have as an actor, or before I became an actor? I was actually 18 months old on the first thing I did, so I had no training. I was a baby, and it was a computer commercial in the 80s. So before there was even computers in everybody's house, they had a commercial for, I believe it was an IBM computer, and me and my sister were both in that commercial. And she's 2 years older than me, so she was in it, and my mom got me into it, and just kind of, from that point on, just kept at it, and training kind of happened while I was on set. I didn't really have any training beforehand, which is a little different than most people I know. Personal favorite actors? Ooh, that's a hard one. That changes a lot. Who are your guys' favorite actors?
Raise your hand.
Who?
Go ahead. Yes.
Oh, I guess you guys should start saying them all out, because I can kind of, I'm trying this one more time.
Zendaya.
Do it again.
Okay, that's a little better. Let me hear you guys.
Zendaya.
Okay, that's a lot better.
Okay, Natalie, sit up.
Sorry about
Be
that.
loud. No, it's fine.
Technical difficulties.
Laura Morano.
Okay, so, for me, personal favorite actors, do you guys like Chris Pratt at all? You guys see Guardians of the Galaxy?
Oh, yeah. It was kind of
Yeah, the guy that plays Star-Lord, the main dude in that. I think he's really funny. He's someone that I've liked recently. When I was your guys' age, I have to say it was probably Harrison Ford, because I loved Han Solo, and I was a big Star Wars nerd since I was really, really little. Now with these next questions, do you want me to answer for the other actors or for myself?
For yourself, if you can. Yeah.
Okay. So the hardest role I've ever played. You guys are asking all the good questions. I did an independent feature when I believe I was about 11 or 12. It was a rated R feature, and it was just very adult. I didn't really get it, and I was just kind of, for kids, it was a little boring. I think it was called Luminous Motion or something like that. But that one was pretty challenging, just because being so young and having to do a film that was kind of the weird art films for adults as a kid was just kind of like, I ended up seeing it and just kind of being a little bored the whole time because I was just way too young to kind of understand it. So I think that was probably the hardest part, was just having to be a lot more adult than I really was at the time. Yeah, other than that, the rest of them were pretty fun. The rest of them I got to, travel to cool places and have really fun sets and things around. Have you guys ever seen Dunstan Checks In?
No.
It's a film about an orangutan that gets loose in a hotel. Anyways, that one was a lot of fun. I got to play with live orangutan for 3 months while we were on set, so that was really cool. So now the most fun role. That one was really fun. I did one that I got to travel to Australia for that was like a sci-fi film. It was for TV, like a TV movie. That one was a lot of fun because there was explosions and motorcycles and special effects and things like that. And I got to go all the way to Australia. So, but the part that wasn't fun about it was when it's wintertime here, it's summertime there. So when I was out there, it was summer over here, so I'd have school over here. But when I was over there, they had school in session. So by law, I had to be in school. So when I flew over there, I could have a teacher, and I basically had to do school all through summer. So even though I, had a lot of fun, I still also had to do my work. Couldn't get away from it. So I thought it was going to be a fun vacation. I get over there, and they're like, by the way, we have a teacher for you, and you have to follow these child labor laws and do school. So that kind of stuff. But other than that, it was a lot of fun. It's a small price to pay to have a lot of fun. The most and the least like me. I think that most roles, there's a lot you can find in common with roles, with yourself, and if you take a step or two outside yourself and empathize a little bit, you can kind of find stuff about yourself that's kind of common with most characters. But most like me, I'd probably have to say it was the character that I played in that film I was telling you guys about, Dunstan Checks In. He was a big Spider-Man fan, and I was a huge Spider-Man fan. I don't know if any of you guys saw the commercial for the new Spider-Man movie that's coming out.
Mr. Mendes. Yeah.
Oh, can you see it out of that?
Yeah.
Work?
Sorry.
Sorry, Joey sent me an email and my phone hopped over.
He should know that. Joey.
So I'd probably say that was probably the most like me, and the least like me. That one's kind of hard. I will say that when I was doing the second Santa Claus film, I was into music. When I was also in high school, so I was going through a rebellious period, and I definitely dressed a lot different than I did in that. So that was one thing that was a lot different than myself. I had to go on set, and they put me in a bunch of Abercrombie, and I was definitely not an Abercrombie kid at the time. I listened to a lot of punk music, and I was going through a rebellious phase. So that's probably when I was least like me. If I wasn't an actor, what would I pursue? Music, definitely music. I picked the other industry that's not doing super well, but yeah, I'd probably be singing and playing guitar and traveling and touring if I could, if it wasn't acting or film that I was a part of. And then one thing people don't know about me, my family and I do off-roading, so we go and ride dirt bikes and sand rails and all the fun sand toys out in the desert since I was probably a little bit older than you guys. Started going with my uncle on that side of the family. So that's one thing that people probably don't know. Other than that, Wikipedia tells you a lot. It's kind of scary how much personal stuff ends up going up there. So there's some fun things on there. And then advice for aspiring actors. So how many of you guys are actors in there? We got a couple? And the rest of you guys all do either film or television production or radio, I've been hearing?
Let me move the camera so
Nice.
you can see. All right, we got that side, actors.
Oh, okay, I see. There's a whole other
And
groupie over
then
there.
in front of the screen, and then these are the guys behind the camera.
Ah, I've done both. I've been in both. I've been in both parts. I do a little bit more of the left side of the room right now, or my left. Your guys' right. But for aspiring actors, keep at it. It's a really hard part to be a part of because it's very much it's all you. You know, you are the instrument. You know, your look and who you are and everything are all on screen. So you got to kind of learn how to separate that from your personal self. And I know that when people start trying to do acting and whatnot, there's a lot of rejection, a lot of people telling you no. And you just got to stay strong. You just have to, you know, if you love doing it, you got to just keep with it and work every day at it, you know, just like school. You got to put everything into it. And it sometimes it doesn't seem like it'll get you anywhere. It doesn't seem like it's going to pay off. But when you look back, you'll be really, really glad that you stuck with it and that you didn't, you know, throw in the towel. So, anyone else got any other questions? Oh, there, I can see a little bit more of you guys now.
Stand up.
Oh, we'll do one at a time. One at a time.
If you guys just want to pick.
Yeah, we'll do that. Be loud.
What was your favorite movie you performed in?
Favorite movie to what?
Go, scoot up, and be louder.
Be louder.
Be louder. You talk louder.
What was your favorite movie you were in?
Favorite movie that I was in? I'd have to say I was in one of the Batman movies, and if anyone ever saw Batman and Robin from back in like the 90s,
Yeah.
The one with Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. I played young Bruce Wayne in that one, so I was only on set for like 2 or 3 days, and there's really only 1 or 2 shots of me in the movie. But that one's always been awesome because I go around and tell people that I'm Batman now. So that's definitely my favorite.
Okay. Go ahead, Emily.
What
Loud.
got you into acting?
What got me into acting?
Like,
My mom. It was my mom moved out here from Maryland when after college. She did a lot of theater acting. And so moved out here after doing a sitcom on the East Coast. She was on a show for about 2 years, and then moved out here. And I forget exactly how my sister got into it, but got my sister into it when she was really young, and then I followed right afterwards, just to kind of put some money away for college and kind of have something fun. You know, most of my friends were doing, you know, as I got older, they started doing sports and things like that. So it was very much akin to that. It was, she kind of kept me grounded and didn't let me think it was much more grandiose than it was. Yeah, so she got me into it. And as I got older and I was able to make the choice, I decided that I wanted to keep going. And yeah, then that was, I think Santa Claus was after that, and Benson Checks In, and a whole bunch of other films.
Okay, Soraya,
Get over here.
come over here.
And get in
Be
front
nice
so
and
you
loud.
can see.
what's your favorite part about acting?
Favorite part about acting? Oh, there's a bunch. You have to go to cool places. you get to do a lot of fun things, and you also get to play pretend for a living. So that's pretty awesome. I don't know about you guys, but when I was your age, I had a closet full of costumes, and I would dress up like different superheroes and whatever I could think of in my imagination and run around the house. So I just got to kind of do that as a profession. So that's been awesome.
Anyone else? Okay, Madison, come over here.
Who's an actor that really inspires you?
Who inspires me, huh? There's so many good ones. Yeah, Chris Pratt, he's a good comedic actor. But that inspires me. I can't think of any names right now. For fear of taking up all the time, I might want to say, come back to it, but let me think for a second. Quick second. There's so many good ones. I've watching a couple shows recently that were really good. I don't know if any, what's his name, Ed, and the Woody Harrelson I think is really good. Matthew McConaughey I also think is really, really good. I know there are a lot of adult actors. Once you guys get older and start watching some of their stuff, you'll start understanding. Hold on one second. Let me plug this in. Alright, there we go. See if I got enough cable. Let me think about that a little bit more. I'll try and get back to you by the end about that.
Okay, Slim, you want to go? Okay, you go.
So you got another question?
Yep.
What projects are you working on or going to work on?
Well, right now, me and a friend from college started a film and music production company and facility. So we have a building here in California that has 2 recording studios and a green screen stage. And we do a little bit of everything. So project-wise, I'm working on different projects pretty much every day. I'm editing something right now for a business. We do music videos for artists. We record artists as well. But as far as personal projects, right now, nothing acting-wise. I'm too busy with work and trying to be a grown-up.
I've got a question. I've heard you bring up college twice now. Could you please share with the kiddo? I've heard you bring up college twice now. Could you please share with the kids why it's important to have a good education with the industry that you do and you work in?
The industry, well, college specifically, I think, it helps show to other people that are going to hire you afterwards that you know how to finish something. That you can say, I'm going to do something, and you can follow it all the way through, and you can finish it. That's probably the most important part, no matter what degree you want to go get in college. Getting through it and having that piece of paper, it shows future employers, it gives them a kind of a marker to know where you're at and what skill level you're at professionally. So it makes it a lot easier when you go into a room to bid for a job or to apply for a position somewhere, for them to look, when it's you and it's someone else both standing there, they know that the person who's been through college has at least had that minimum level of commitment that they've been able to apply themselves to and finish. And so that was what I got out of college and kind of learned was the most important part about it. Other than that, depending on what industry you're going into in film, you'll start learning all the specifics of if it's editing or things behind the camera that you're doing. They'll teach you cool little tricks and things like that. They'll start to, show you what programs are industry standards and what, you'll start learning the terminology. And the terminology is important because for things you don't know, you can always go and look it up on YouTube. And you can always go find ways to figure it out. And school will help you kind of show you what the industry standards are for those. And as for acting and things like that, like I said before, it just shows that you've gone through and you've had that education and that you've had that training. So people are a little more likely to take you seriously and take you professionally, and really believe that you can do what you say you can do because of that piece of paper that you get from college.
So Dre.
Which do you like best, being in front of the camera or being behind the camera?
It depends on what I'm doing in both, I guess. Behind the camera is a little less, for myself, a little less nerve-wracking because it's, you come and you do your job, and I already know, the steps of what I need to do and whatever role
behind the camera. Acting sometimes is a little more strenuous because you got to put yourself in uncomfortable positions. You know, if you have to be sad, you have to actually, you know, put yourself in that place and feel that way and take yourself out of your comfort zone. So it's not really like it's not as easy to start a job acting and walk away from it as it is if you were operating a camera or so. Because of that, it depends. But they're both awesome. They both have the, you know, great spots, and great things about them. Oops.
AJ.
Was it hard when you started off the few years?
Excuse me?
First few one. Was it hard when you started off being an actor the first few years?
Was it hard?
Yes.
It definitely was a learning experience. I went from, I did a lot of commercials and things where they wanted me to be a kid. So that definitely made it a little bit easier. And then I got cast in a show called The Wonder Years. I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of that. I was a baby.
Woo!
Oh, yeah.
All the teachers back here.
Yep. I played a young Fred Savage in those. So I played the main character as a kid in all the flashbacks. And I was 2 years old to when I was 5 years old. So I was on the set as a baby, pretty much. And they would just let me run around and follow me around the camera. It's supposed to look like home movies. So I kind of got a free ride at that point. It wasn't like, all right, stand here and say this line, or all right, we're going to do this scene. It was more like, all right, here's your fake bedroom. Go in there and just play with the toys. And so me as a little kid, I was just like, okay, and just ran in there and started playing with all the fun toys. They'd follow me around the camera. And because of that, I got to learn about, like, you know, the wires on the set, because there's lights everywhere, and what to touch and what not to touch. And, you know, like the etiquette, basically, of being on the set. So that definitely made it a little bit easier. If it wasn't for that, it would have been a lot harder because I had ADD, so I would have been all over the place. Strictly an acting teacher, probably not, but I definitely have directed actors before and worked with actors on scene, and I like doing that a lot. So yeah, I definitely will probably end up doing that at some point in the future. I do a lot of directing and things like that through my company now, so I kind of get to be an acting coach in a way. It's just a different job title, but it's kind of the same job.
What was your favorite superhero?
My favorite superhero? Oh, that's a good one. It used to be Wolverine when I was really little, but I'm pretty sure it's Spider-Man or Iron Man. I gotta say one of those two. So I'm really excited for the new movie because it's gonna have both of them in it. All these little kid moments. I was your guys' age, and they didn't have any superhero movies. I remember when the first X-Men movie came out, I was like, how are they gonna make like Wolverine have claws, and how are they gonna make all these cool superpowers happen? Because there was no real special effects back then. They were all really, really cheesy looking. They didn't look very real. And I think the very first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire was one of the very first superhero movies that and X-Men that ever came out. And you just go back and look at them now, and they don't hold up as well. But yeah, so I'm in cloud nine now that I'm older, and all my childhood stuff is starting to get made into movies.
Like, what inspires you personally?
What inspires me? That's a really good one. That's another one you need to take time with. What inspires me? I think that you guys still there?
Yeah.
I got a phone call. You guys still there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, and now the speakerphone decides to turn back on. My phone is being very weird. So what inspires me? A lot of different things, I guess. With film these days and films that like I see that inspire me, usually ones that are really kind of real and true and have something to say. A lot of the times, it definitely changes from when you're younger, and a lot of films you like the special effects and the action and things like that. And as you get a little bit older, it kind of switched over and started watching a lot more dramas and really emotional films, and films that kind of show about the human condition and make you step outside of your comfort zone and make you step outside of your your world and have to see what other people's lives are like. And I find stuff like that really inspiring and inspirational.
Okay, this is our last question. Okay, Danica.
Where did you go to college and what did you study?
I went to a university out here called Chapman University, and they have a film school attached. So when I was looking at schools, they were basically the competition for USC. So USC and UCLA's film school. I ended up going to Chapman Film School, and I went for directing and audio. So I learned how to use Pro Tools, which is a program for mixing sound and for recording sound. Learned how to use a bunch of different editing programs, and worked on my directing skills. So like earlier when someone asked about being an acting coach or teaching acting, it's kind of directing and acting are opposite sides of the same coin. They take a lot of the same tools, and so I kind of, when I went to school, even though I went behind the camera, I was still kind of in the same realm of acting, still kind of doing that as well while I was in school. Inspirational.
Okay, this is our last question. Okay, Danica.
Where did you go to college and what did you study?
I went to a university out here called Chapman University, and they have a film school attached. So when I was looking at schools, they were basically the competition for USC. So USC and UCLA's film school. I ended up going to Chapman Film School, and I went for directing and audio. So I learned how to use Pro Tools, which is a program for mixing sound and for recording sound. Learned how to use a bunch of different editing programs, and worked on my directing skills. So like earlier when someone asked about being an acting coach or teaching acting, it's kind of directing and acting are opposite sides of the same coin. They take a lot of the same tools, and so I kind of, when I went to school, even though I went behind the camera, I was still kind of in the same realm of acting, still kind of doing that as well while I was in school.
Alright, well
Anybody else?
Thank you so much for visiting with us today and talking to
You-
these
totally.
aspiring actors and actresses and behind the scenes.
It's so awesome. You guys got a big class. I had a TV productions class at my high school. They didn't have it in elementary school. They had it at my high school, and there wasn't that many kids in it. So it's awesome to see. It's awesome to see all you guys in there. I see the green screen in there.
And we're pretty
Max in
fortunate
the back.
because not a lot of elementary schools get these opportunities.
I know, that's so awesome.
Kids do.
Like at my school, we didn't have anything like that. We even had a music department, man.
So if you ever come to Texas, you need to come visit our school.
I will, definitely. I'll have Joey send me the information.
Yes, and he knows how to get a hold of me. What do y'all say?
Thank you!
Oh, yeah. Have a Merry Christmas. Keep up your schoolwork. Be good teacher. Bye, guys. Don't too sad going back to all your classes.
I'm going to recess. Exactly what I did.
Oh, nice.
All the fifth graders have recess. That's not fair.
Bye, guys. No, it isn't.